Hi, today I'd like to show you the books and curriculum that we're using for my son's high school 10th grade homeschool year. In a previous video, I was showing you the Sonlight instructor guides that we're using. And in this video, I just want to show you the books. So first is his math. And I love teaching textbooks. I cannot say enough good things about it. It is just wonderful. I'm using Right Start with my daughter, and I love that for early grades. I also am kind of a fan of Matthew C, and we tried Matthew C for high school. But whenever he came to a problem, like, it was good because I could watch the video with him, so I could kind of see what the lesson was about. And then the rest of the week, he would be just working on, his written assignments. But if he ever had a question, I would go to the answer book and try to come up. The answer book has sort of step-by-step in question or answers, but not really. It did not help me. So sometimes if he had a question or if he got something wrong, I would have to spend like 20 minutes trying to figure it out myself. And, sometimes my husband would come home. I don't know how he does it, but my husband can come home and he'll just look at the question and he'll be able to just sit down and just teach my son how to do it. And I'm like, how did you do that? Did you somehow study algebra today at work? I have no idea how he's able to do that, how he can remember how to do algebra from way back in high school or college. So, but my husband, he's at his job, and I want to try to, get the math done during the day. And so teaching textbook has been a huge answer to prayer with math because of the online, the CDs here. Because when a child gets an answer wrong, they can choose to click on and have them show the answer. So it gives you, every day you watch a lesson, and there's not like a person. Like with Matthew C, Mr. Dem is there, and he's like, you can see him and how he's at the whiteboard. And Mr. Dem is so wonderful. He really is wonderful. But for teaching textbook, it's just like you're looking at a computer screen, and they're kind of like Khan Academy, if you've ever seen a Khan Academy video. And they're working out the problem and they're talking about the lesson. And then you work through, and then you do he has he has a notebook where he scratches out and he works out the problems, and then he chooses the answer. And if he gets it wrong, then he clicks on and has them show it. So it shows step by step whenever he gets something wrong. And that was what I needed for high school math, because I can teach my kids math really well up through pre-algebra. And I did very well in math in school and in college, but it's a whole nother thing to teach it. And so this has been, teaching textbooks is absolutely wonderful for high school, and I'll be using this with my daughter and stuff as well. So that's what his math is going to be. Now for science, I'm doing something different. For the past few years now, he's been doing Apologia. For high school, he's done Apologia General Science. For middle school, he did Apologia Physical Science. And last year for 9th grade, he did Apologia Biology, which was super hard for him. Boy, I would really recommend anybody who's looking at Apologia Biology to think about doing it in 11th grade, because I wish I would have done that. So this year I want to do something fun and kind of light with science. So we're only going to do science 4 times a week, so he'll get enough credit hours. And then for his 11th grade year, we'll do chemistry, and for his 12th grade year, we'll do the Apologia, physical science, or physics. Excuse me, physics, we'll do that. So for this year, before he starts back in on those texts, I want to do something different. So he wants to do engineering. He likes engineering. He's thinking about doing engineering in college. So I put together some resources for engineering. This is a Great Courses, Understanding the World's Greatest Structures. And there's 24 lessons. And it's going to talk about balance and strength and columns and, bridges and architectural, history of architecture, just all sorts of stuff. And I got this on sale. I think regularly they want a few $100s for this, which makes no sense to me. But I got it for $50. There was some kind of a sale. So that's what we're going to do. So he's got 24 lectures on here. And then David McCulley, I'm a big fan of him. I like his books. And so this is Underground. So this is just great pictures. So it's just going to talk about the underground, the structures, how they do things, support, when they build things. So we're going to do that. And this is another David Macaulay. Now, there's also videos that go with this. You can buy the DVD on Amazon. I think it was like $30 for all of them. But I noticed our library has them, so I think I'm just going to get that. So this is going to go through bridges, tunnels, dams, domes, and skyscrapers. And just nice pictures. You know, really just interesting and engaging. And that's what I want his science to be. I don't want it to be super hard. I don't think you have to be hard to be like high school worthy or intelligent or something like that. I mean, this is just engaging. You know, a lot of online, I was looking at a lot of like older guy engineers. They had recommended these books. This is a book that was recommended from just when I was browsing through different things from other engineers, The Underground as well. And again, this is another book that was mentioned by some older, you know, engineer people working in the field. And I think my son wants to actually do like robotic computer type engineering, but I think these kind of structure type books, you know, are still really good to learn. So this is the new way things work. So I think this will be just really interesting. This is going to talk about how different things work. The mechanics, you know, lots of great pictures again. So we're just going to kind of work through these books for him. And then I bought this Connects Education. There's 2 big boxes of this. This is expensive. This was $150. That's a lot of money. But I'm really excited about it. So it gives you different instruction booklets on how to put this together. But this is not just a toy. It actually comes with a teacher's guide. And it's going to talk about, you know, actually teaching this, not as opposed to just building it. So he's going to build like 7 real bridges, like real life bridges. He's going to build them, and they're going to talk about the structure and how, you know, so he's going to spend probably a few weeks. I'm not sure how long it's going to take to do that. He can build really fast, but I also want him to not just build fast like he's building a Lego project. I want him to actually learn. So we're going to have to work through the teacher's guide and, you know, go through that. So that's what we're going to do. Now, I'm not sure how long that's going to take to do that. Maybe that'll take the whole year to get through those books, you know, to go through slowly. But I do have some extra things here. Engineering in the City, How Infrastructure Works. Now, this is probably more for like maybe middle school. The projects actually feel more like middle school, even elementary. So the projects were really, I'm not too fan. I mean, some of the projects are good, some of them not. But I think the information here is really good. The information is going to talk about water, irrigation, highways, bridges, wires, garbage, pollution. You know, where does all the garbage go? So this is about like city engineering. And I think that would be interesting because I'm really trying to open my son's horizons a little bit regarding engineering. And he's really interested in that. And I want him to show him, you know, that engineering is more than just Mindstorm's robotics or, you know, computer stuff. That there's, you know, just so when he goes on to college, he can kind of remember this. And maybe as he matures and gets older, you know, he might want to go into city engineering. Maybe he'll want to take up architecture or something. I don't know. So here's the art of construction. And this is kind of talking about structure. Steel frames, ropes, sticks, shape and strength. So I think this would be good too. There is projects for everything, but again, the projects seemed a little simple, but maybe some of them wouldn't be. Maybe some of them, you know, might be fun. And this here I would really love to do. This is Practical Drafting, Applied Engineering Graphics. Now, I know a lot of people use CAD computer programs for doing drafting, but this author here is Melvin G. Peterman. He works in the engineering field even now, even nowadays. He's working and he's aware of all the changes and modern updates, and he still believes that understanding, you know, pencil and paper drafting, drawing will actually help students use those CAD programs. So I would really love it for him to go through this. This book is a little bit confusing. I'm not really sure how it works, but you know, maybe my son can figure it out. Sometimes that works that way. So I would really like to use this. So we'll see towards the end of the year how much we're able to finish and get done. But these are basically all the stuff that I bought for him to work through and do an engineering credit for science, just to do something different. And so I'm really pleased with all these products, and we'll see how they go and how they works out. Now for a couple of my son's other subjects, we're doing logic. This is really an enjoyable program. This is The Art of Argument by Classical Academic Press. They've got a lot of really great, I love their writing and rhetoric program. That is probably the best writing program. And so here, this is going to be informal fallacies. So you're going to be talking about fallacies of relevance, fallacies of presumption, fallacies of clarity. So you're going to work through 28 different fallacies. And this is really fun and interesting. My son is actually really enjoying this and finds it interesting. They make just great products. Their explanations are so good. It's funny. It's kind of modern too, in a good way. This is a Christian company. God is very important to these people in this company, and so that's important to me as well. There's not a lot of, I think a person who is not a Christian could use these products, but I like buying stuff from Christian companies because I just feel, I don't know, I guess I just feel a little more secure that they're gonna, all of their information is gonna come from that sort of perspective. And I don't, even if they're not really preachy about it, which is good. So I'm just gonna go through each unit, each chapter. So we did this together, and it was really a lot of fun. I would read the chapter out loud to him, and we would just talk about it. And I would have him make note cards and do definitions. And there's also tests, which are kind of nice to have something to grade. So he started this last year for 9th grade, and we didn't finish it. So he's going to do, there's like 3 books. There's Art of Argument, Introduction to Informal Fallacies. So there's inside here, there's answer questions. Sometimes we do these orally, sometimes we wouldn't. There's tests and there's quizzes. I would do note cards for him, for flashcards, to really remember the fallacies. And so there's a student book, and then there's the teacher book, and we would just sit down and go through it together. And then there's the argument builder, which is the next one. And this is going to be, using the fallacies that you've learned, how to build an argument. And argument is really important, that this curriculum tries to teach you that arguing is not arguing like we see in the media and out in our culture, that it's basically helping kids to, understand what they believe, why they believe it, and to communicate it. So argument builder is just teaching students how to communicate, because right now people are talking on Facebook and online, and they're just shouting. Everybody's just shouting at each other, and people don't even make sense. I mean, the comments, when you read like an article online, the comments that people make, are just so unintelligent. They're just so unintelligent. They're so emotional. It's like you can't even have conversations about stuff. And that's why I wanted to teach this curriculum. I wanted him to understand the fallacies so he could see them out in the world. And I wanted him to learn how to make an argument, not to argue with people, but for him to feel secure in what he believes and to communicate it when the time arises for him to communicate something to somebody. So that's what that is. Now the 3rd book is about formal fallacies. Or formal logic, formal logic. So this is informal logic. This is argument builder. And then the 3rd book is, the formal logic. So I'm going to have him do all 3 of these books, because we're kind of not doing everything exactly as the book. We're not doing a lot of the writing assignments. We're just kind of reading through. So I'm going to have him do all 3 of these and count them as a credit. That's probably, I don't know if I could count high school credit for each of these books, because we're not spending that much time. These are actually, you just do them in a semester. Actually, they're made for just a semester. So technically, I could do these 2 and give him 1 credit. But, I also want him to have information too. It's not just about credit. So I think we're probably going to do that formal logic book as well. And once we're done with all 3 of them, and whenever we get done with those, you know, maybe we'll probably get done with these 2 we'll finish all this year, and then next year we'll do the formal logic, and then he'll get a credit. So that's one thing nice about homeschooling, is you don't have to finish everything in 1 year. You can have ongoing subjects. So then we're also he's doing Japanese. That's what he chose to do. I guess I was really stuck on him. He has to do Spanish because that's the most useful. But then as I started thinking, I'm like, you know, why? You know, he loves Japanese. He loves anime. He loves Nintendo. He loves Pokemon. And so he wants to go visit Japan someday. You know, he would love to do, you know, the university that, you know, we're planning on having him go to actually has a program where you can go and study abroad for like a year or a semester in Japan. They also have it in London. And there's a couple, Germany, I think, a few other places, but you know, that's something he really wants to do. So we got the Rosetta Homeschool Edition for Japanese. I really like it. The only problem with Rosetta Stone is that you have to pay for service, and I'm not used to that. I mean, pretty much anytime you buy stuff from a homeschool company, they will help you whatever you need. Like with Matthew C. or teaching textbooks, if you have a question, you call them up and they'll help you. But with Rosetta Stone, it's just a little bit different. I think after you purchase it, you get like 3 months. And then anytime after 3 months, if you have a technical issue, like if something's not working right, you actually have to pay to get service. I don't know how much it costs or anything like that. But, you know, it's still, to me, the best homeschool curriculum out there for foreign language. Some people use Duolingo, and I think Duolingo has really improved its product quite a bit, but we're just doing Rosetta Stone. So that's what his little some extra things are that he's doing. Okay, now for his history is the Sonlight, 20th century modern history, level 320. This is the book. This is a big, heavy, thick book. This is the main spine. It's got great pictures. It goes through the dates. You can see here, you know, each section is kind of all these dates. It's not colored, but it goes, you know, has a lot of pictures. So this is a lot of basic information for the whole century. You know, and it looks like it goes up to 2012. Let's see, does it go farther than that? No, 2012 is as far as it goes. So, I mean, that's really great. Just it sort of gives you, you know, an overview, which is good. And then you get all these biographies, history type books, history fiction. So, All Quiet on the Western Front is a classic. That'll be the book he's going to read. Day in the Life of Ivan Denisovich, which is another classic. A Road to Home. This is a true story. So I really like these kind of books. They really, you know, bring out history after the war. This is a popular book. A lot of people know about The Hiding Place by Corrie ten Boom. When Hitler Stole Pink. The Red Scarf. Memoir of the Cultural Revolution. This is China. This is about Mao Zedong. I'm not spelling that right, but you probably know who I'm talking about here. So all that stuff that went on in China there. And The Green Glass Sea. China's Long March. Labor's Untold Story. This looks like a really great book. A lot of good information about this. About the working men and women in America here. You Want Women to Vote, Lizzie Stanton. Here's a biography on Albert Einstein. God Spoke Tibetan. This looks like it's pretty interesting. This is about China. So, yeah, I think this would be really good. And then this one I'm really excited about. Winston Churchill. This is a hardcover book. This is going to be a biography of Winston Churchill. This reminds me of that Lincoln biography that Sonlight used to have in their Core D or Core E a long time ago. But so these are going to be some great books to go add to that, to the history of the modern world. Now I am taking out some books. So these are the books that are included, but I'm not going to use them. You made me look, or made you look. Now, because we're doing that logic program I just talked about, I thought this would be just kind of redundant. So, I mean, I think if you're not doing that logic program, I think there could be some really interesting things in this, which would be good. Living on the Devil's Doorstep. We're not going to read this one. There's a sheep in my bathtub. We're not leaving. This is about a Mongolian church planting. So these are kind of their Christian books, Protestant books. And then this one I decided not to read. First They Killed My Father, because there's a lot of, you know, pretty dark history. And I just thought it would be too much. You know, there's a lot of, I read through the backs. I didn't read all of these books, but I kind of read through the backs to get a good idea of what they're about. And I just thought this is just, you know, there's a lot of books that are kind of like this. And I thought, you know, he's already reading quite a few. I think I'm just going to take it out. So we're taking out these 4. Now for the Bible portion, this is what we're doing. Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis. How to Ruin Your Life by 30. This actually is kind of surprisingly pretty interesting. Pretty good. I think it's a good book for teenagers. And this is an Orthodox book. Everywhere Present by Stephen Freeman. Father Stephen. He's got a great blog called All Things Glory to God for All Things. And I go to that blog quite often. And I'm a big fan of his. So I'm really glad to have this book. And it's not too big. It's pretty small. And Bread and Water, Wine and Oil. You know, Father Meletios Weber is another Orthodox book. This is a great one about the church, the liturgy, and about the mysteries, which the Catholics might call them sacraments, and we call them mysteries. So that's what he's going to be doing. So I substituted these 2. So the books that Sonlight have in the Bible are these. Know What You Believe and Know Why You Believe. So I just took these out and put in these 2 Orthodox books. So that's what we're doing. So it's essentially for history. Now I am going to have him in this notebook. We're not going to do a lot of written work for history. I'm not doing any tests or anything like that. So for I think I'm just going to have him use his notebook. So that History of the Modern World, that big thick textbook that's his spine, once a week I'm going to have him do like just a simple narration, like a paragraph or something. And then after each one of these books, maybe not all of them, we'll see. But after, you know, he reads one of these books, I was thinking him just to do like a little mini report, like just like a couple paragraphs, nothing huge. And he can, you know, he can keep it in here. So, oh, this is wide ruled. I think I wanted the college ruled, but oh well. So I thought he could just do that here. So this is a 3-subject notebook. So I was going to have one of them would be for his history here. And so that's what we're going to be doing for his history. Okay, the last thing I'm going to show you is for his literature. Now, in the instructor guides for literature, we're doing the classic literature 3 or 230, and it'll give you a weekly writing assignment. There will be literary analysis, discussion questions, all of that stuff. And I did have another video where I showed the instructor guides. But these are some of the books that he's going to be reading. Enchantress from the Stars, The Screwtape Letters, C.S. Lewis, Till We Have Faces, C.S. Lewis, The Best of Father Brown, Roald Dahl Going Solo. This is an autobiography. The Gamage Cup. And here's a couple Shakespeare books. Romeo and Juliet and The Twelfth Night. And Charles Dickens, Oliver Twist. And here's a book called Pontius Pilate. Robinson Crusoe. Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Mrs. Frisby and the Rats of Nim. The Hawk and the Dove. The Shining Company. The Wise Woman and Other Stories by George MacDonald. A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. The Wounds of God. Treasure Island. The Outlaws of Sherwood. And there's also poetry book. Child's Anthology of Poetry. Now, there's actually more books than this for literature. They have a lot of books in the high school core, but these are the ones I'm not reading. But if you buy the literature, $2.30, you'll get these. Pictures of Hollis Woods, What Hearts, Pilgrim's Progress. I know this is popular. You guys are probably booing at me, but we're not going to read that one. The Ramsey Scallop, Parcel of Patterns. So these are like 5 books here. We're not going to read these. And I'm also not going to read these 2, which I know are classics, because I'm thinking they're really thick. I mean, my gosh, look at how thick they are. And with all these other books he's reading for literature and for history and his faith books. So you can always get good movies for these books. And I know there's not supposed to be girl books and boy books, but these are kind of girl books, in my opinion. And it's not that a boy can't get value out of them, but like I said, there's just so many books that he's reading. I just have to make tough calls. So so we're not going to do Jane Eyre. Maybe we'll watch a movie. This is not a favorite of mine, but I love Pride and Prejudice. I love Jane Austen. This is an annotated version, which I don't get that. I don't get why they'd put an annotated version. Basically, an annotated version is going to give you like all this information while you're reading the story. And to me, the first time you read it, you should just read it. Annotated version, the equivalent to that is like watching a movie, like putting in a DVD movie and watching the commentary while you're watching it. Now, that's fine if you've already watched the movie, once or a couple times. But if it's the first time you're watching, you wouldn't watch the commentary. So I'm not sure why they put an annotated in here, because for most kids, I'm sure this is going to be their first time reading it. Now, I might enjoy reading this because I've read Pride and Prejudice like 3 times. Plus, I've seen the BBC version with Colin Firth is just so good. I might really enjoy this, but I can't imagine putting it in. I guess they're just wanting you to, the kids to learn from the book. But I'm really, my side when it comes to literature is just read lots of books, read lots of variety, which is one of the reasons why we choose Sonlight, because I want lots of literature. I don't want to just read 4 or 6 books a year and just really dig into the book and analyze it to death. That's just not really what I want. So that's what his literature books are going to be. And I am going to make some substitutions for the ones I'm taking out. I'm going to have him read Dune, this science fiction book. If you really love science fiction, this is an excellent book. And he likes science fiction. My husband and I are both science fiction book readers. And I'm also going to have him read The Time Machine. Now, this is by H.G. Wells. There's 3 of his main ones, but we're just going to read The Time Machine. And I'm also going to have him read The Journey to the Center of the Earth by Jules Verne. And I don't know where my copy is of that right now, but so I'm going to substitute those books for the 5, or for the 7 actually, that I'm taking out. But there's a lot of books here, and I have no idea if we're going to read them all. We're just going to do what we can. To me, that's what Sonlight. I keep repeating that over and over again whenever I do Sonlight. My kids are just going to get, what they don't, they don't. And I'm just going to really, be happy about all the books and all the stuff that we do read and learn, and not be worried about all the stuff that we're missing or taking out. Now, along with his literature and his English assignments, or his writing assignments, I'm going to do this Barron's Easy English. This is just a really simple, independent book that's going to go over lots of different English skills. So here's the contents, and it just covers a lot of stuff. It's very simple, just a little bit. He's going to do this like once a week. There's like 23 chapters. I think he's just going to work on it. Because he's only doing math 4 times a week and science 4 times a week. So for the 5th day, he can spend time doing this. And the other thing he's doing is starting to prepare for the SAT test. And I got the Barron's Guide for that as well. And this is a thick book. This is big. So basically what they do is they're basically giving you full-length practice tests. There's like a couple full-length practice tests in here, plus there's a diagnostic test. Now, it's not just a test, because when you get an answer wrong, it does explain to you, different, ways of how you can get it right, or why you got it wrong, or so the answers is what's really helpful. But essentially, when you prepare for the SAT test, you're just going over and over and taking the test several times, practicing it, and learning from your mistakes. So we're going to do this about 4 times this year. We're going to spend some time, maybe 3 times, I'm not sure. And then next year, I want him to take it his 11th grade year, like in the spring. So if he can take this, like about 4 times, 3 times maybe as practice, that'd be really great. Because the college he's going to is a college that my husband works at. He's been working there for 20 years, and so we get free tuition. It's a Christian private college. It's a really great school. And they're really not going to care so much about his grades that I give him, but they're really going to care about homeschool students' SAT scores. So that's kind of why I'm really putting a lot of emphasis on SAT, because that's going to be, for him to get in. I don't think it's going to be really hard for him to get in. It's not like Harvard or something, but it's definitely, a little bit more above average. So I am, a little concerned about, him doing well on the SAT test. So that's pretty much all of his, his major courses he's taking this year. Now there's a couple extra little things that I keep track of as the year goes on. Like physical education. I'll just keep track of every year different activities, hours that he spent. He does exercises, swimming, different things. Computer science, his dad does it sometimes on Thursday nights. His dad will do computer stuff. Like last year, they took apart the computer and put it back together again. So they'll do different projects and he'll teach him different things. So I just marked down the hours. And he also did some robotic stuff with Mindstorm. So I'm just sort of keeping track of stuff. And I'll give him a credit and a grade, when he's completed enough for that. And for fine arts, I'm doing the same thing. He does a lot of different projects. We do projects. He is always doing different art projects. I mean, here's some stuff that he did this summer. And this is really nice. He did this using art markers. This is kind of a steampunky little machine that he made. And I bought him these, oops, sorry about that, these Prismacolor markers for his birthday. These are about $50. They're kind of expensive, but these are way cheaper than buying Copic markers. And Copic markers are refillable. So that's one of the reasons why they're so much more expensive. These are not refillable, but for just starting out, wanting to do blending and doing, nice quality art markers, I mean, this is what it looks like. That's really great. Look how you can see the blending he did here with, the wood floor and the wood table. So, and he did, a lot of other different things here. He likes to do fantasy magic card kind of stuff. So, this is what he worked on this summer. He likes to make games too. So, I just kind of keep track of stuff for fine arts. And for music, he's doing guitar. So this is I keep track of those extra subjects for him to get credit, at the end of his, high school, 12th grade. I'll work all that out. So that's what he's doing for his school this year. I really hope that this was helpful, and I hope you have a nice day, and God bless.